my dog snoring, but still gonna record this video. All right. Hot topic of the week. Been a lot in the news and on the YouTube streams or channels in reference to VA disability, etc. And I'll probably make a video about that later on down the line. But I wanted to take some time to talk about the ultimate benefit that, if you kind of from the be all that you could be generation that we were trying to get, or we might didn't know we was trying to get, but that was an added benefit of doing 20 years into the military. And that's obviously the military pension. And now that I actually collect pension, I kind of just want to take some time and just talk about that, right? So when I came in the military, I would never imagine that I was going to do 20 plus years. I think that's a lot of us. Maybe if you're from a military family, you're going to come in and kind of do that time. But me, I was coming in for and done, right? So I would never imagine, doing 20 years, not even close. So as a private, 20 years, that sounds like a lifetime. It sounds like something old people do, right? Coming at 17 and then, you don't know what your future is going to hold. So that definitely sounds distant and like a theoretical option, about 20-year retirement and, 20-year pension. It's on the table, but you don't know that it's actually, but it doesn't feel real, right? Because you're not looking at, you at 17, 18, you're looking at time totally different than, 40, when you turn 40 plus, right? So then you blink and somehow 26 years, what I did, years later, you find, yourself signing that retirement paperwork and you have achieved federal retirement with a pension. So there's a funny cadence in the military that goes, they give you $100 and take back 99. I know, if anybody went to basic training, you kind of know that one, right? There's a couple other lines in that one also that alludes to military life. But, they're going to give you $100 and they're going to take back 99. They're always going to find a way to nickel and dime and kind of and get that pound of flesh out of you. So it's army humor, it's cultural sarcasm, but there's some truth hiding in that line or in that cadence, right? And today I want to talk about something that I call the pension problem. Again, problem in air quotes, because pension is never a problem. It's something that we've earned and that, something that we're going to maintain with us till until we die. Don't want to sound morbid, but that's just the case, right? So now when I was in uniform, I used to wonder something. Why are retired GS civilians with pension and potentially disability, why are they still working? You come there, especially in an office environment, you might be in a cubicle and then you just hear people bitching and moaning. You'd be like, why, especially when I was in uniform working next to civilians, I'm like, why are you here? Like, I thought you made it to the finish line. Why are you still here complaining about probably some of the same things you were complaining about when you were in the uniform yourself? Now being on the other side, I see why. Middle class life is not cheap. It has never been. But when your income drops by about 50%, you're gonna feel it, right? Especially if that's why a lot of people, as soon as they retire, they end up going right into the workforce because you're not going to have that same base pay that you had when you was in. So under the high 3 retirement rule, you can anticipate 50% of your base pay being paid out for the rest of your life. That sounds incredible, and it is. But the fine print starts creeping in, right? Because that 50%, that's before reality shows up. Let's walk through some of the deductions people don't fully think about when they consider retirement. And probably you do consider it, but it's probably considering during that SFL tap phase of your career. So let's see all the things that are potentially going to come out of that. Get you $100 and take back 99, right? So you got the survivor's benefit plan. You got your Tricare premiums if you're going to maintain with Tricare. You got your VGLI if you're going to keep your life insurance, dental, optometry, and maybe even a percentage. If you had a divorce or something like that, and you went past those 10 years, it's a potential that's going to get cut, and that pie is going to get cut even further into. So that 50%. is not going to be take home pay, put it in your pocket, and being able to enjoy your life. So if you're not paying attention, that 50%, it gets chipped away fairly quickly. I could do a deeper dive on those eaches that I talked about in a future video, but kind of just want to get kind of folks, especially if you're in this position, kind of get your mentals kind of rolling in reference to that retirement decision and what pension actually means. So that's all. So that's really the part that nobody really prepares you for. So the check is steady, obviously. The pension is guaranteed. But your lifestyle, that's where that variable comes into how do you want to live your life, post military service. Let's not forget the things that we have, right? Mortgage, grocery, insurance, kids, and just living life in general. That obviously comes at a financial cost. And if you're living comfortably on active duty income, you might need an income anchor to maintain the same quality of life that you had while you were in service. Not because you failed, not because the pension isn't good, but because math is just math, right? What you gonna do? So now let me be clear. The pension is an amazing problem to have. The pension problem is really kind of clickbaity title, as they say, but it's a good problem. In a world where pensions have gone the way of the dodo bird, being in one of the few careers left that actually offer a pension is obviously an enormous blessing. A gift and its security, security to make sure to ensure, hopefully, if we lose our pension, it's something we got bigger things to worry about, right? But if that goes awry, we got bigger things to worry about. But that's definitely a good problem, a great problem to have right now. One of my sayings while I was serving in the military was, I get in the military in my time, they give me compensation, salary, healthcare, purpose. I always felt that was an even exchange, fair exchange, no robbery. I knew what I signed up for, and I was ready to take that adventure, So yes, Uncle Sam got me for my late teens. I came in delayed entry, so I came in, signed up when I was 17. So they got my late teens, they got my 20s, got my 30s, and they got a small portion of my 40s. And maybe in another video I'll explain how my military career kind of went and why it went that long. Different types of services there. So yeah, it was a purpose, it was a brotherhood, and it was structure. And now I get paid every month because of it. So again, go back to saying that is obviously a good problem to have. But that's where the shift happens, right? When that steady pension hits, you realize something, right? You're not financially stressed, but you're also not at full throttle, especially not at full throttle as you was in, maybe you was going TDY, maybe you was getting some jump pay, maybe you was getting extra incentives that come in there. You're definitely not at full throttle. You're at pension. And again, I believe that's why, a lot of people go out, and purpose is another portion of that, and go out and get jobs to get them back to that full throttle and to continue the lifestyle that they were living or they aspired to, post military service. This is going to sound a little cliche, a little corny, but for me, one of the best decisions I made while was living debt free, or getting to the point while I was on active service to get into that debt free state. That definitely made the choice of retirement a little bit less anxious and a little bit easier to make. So that changed everything. The second best decision was moving to a lower cost of living state with strong veterans benefit. I retired out of Colorado Springs to be exact, and then and I'm currently now living in Texas, which we all know. I think everybody knows that they have obviously no state income tax for one thing, and then they have excellent military veterans benefits. So that's definitely why I kind of made that decision to migrate, amongst other things, some family situations also. So that combination makes the pension stretch further than people realize, and I'll break that down in another video. But here's the honest part. The pension gives you options. It gives you margin, it gives you breathing room, but it doesn't automatically give you purpose. That's on you, period, right? For me, that's where creative endeavors come in. So YouTube projects and ideas I never had the time for before because I was ripping and running 6 o'clock in the morning, saluting the flag, PT, and doing all those other things. So definitely, I definitely appreciate that military service, and now given the time for me to be able to do some of the things that always, passion project type situations or whatever. Um, so we all know while you're on active duty, your schedule is not yours. Maybe you get a Friday, Saturday, and then get ready to go right back to work. Preparing for Monday. Monday work call on Sunday. But now my time is my time, and that freedom is worth more than any dollar amount. I guess that's a bad saying because it is worth a dollar amount because I'm getting a dollar amount for it. All right, so now my running internal joke is, now I just need to stay alive long enough to make sure Uncle Sam didn't get one over on me, right? So if my pay got cut in half, you gotta live at least 40 more years, but you got to kind of make that time worthwhile in order to start, getting that money back. Or let me not say getting that money back, but, enjoying the pension lifestyle. And one of the reasons why I retired is I wanted to retire still young enough to kind of enjoy some of the things. I still have school age children, so enjoy some of those things. And see what life has to offer post-military service, since most of my years has been somehow, some way involved in military service. So here's a key takeaway I do want you to hear though. If you're still serving and you're thinking about retirement, start running the real numbers, not just the 50%. Run the deductions, run the cost of living, run the lifestyle comparisons, and ask yourself this: what kind of life do I want to lead or want to have post uniform? Some people, they want to get an RV and travel, and I would assume, again, I'm not an RVer, that would be a lower cost of living than, that would be a lower cost of living, I would guess. Do you fully want to stop working? Do you want a part-time income as an anchor? Or do you want to work full-time and have a pension coming in? Or do you want to build something on your own, something that you've always strived to do? Maybe you go back to school, maybe you get a different skill or certification or something like that in order to support whatever your next phase, your next life phase is going to be. So the pension is not the finish line, but it is a strong foundation to get you started on that next aspect of your life. Yeah. So for me, this is that something, as I'll state right now. Again, I got school age children, so that keeps me fairly busy. And especially if you've got any kids in sports, you know how time consuming and financially consuming, that could be. But you gotta figure young retirement, youngish, right? I'm still in mid 40s or whatnot. Pension life, figuring out life in real time right now. If you're interested in that journey, what works, what doesn't, the fine print, nobody explains, or I'm pretty sure YouTube has millions of videos, right? Somebody explaining it, but if you want to hear it from an aspect of somebody that's going through it in real time, as the kids say, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, I'm always willing to answer the questions from my point of view and my lens. And again, there's a lot going on right now in the world, and in reference to, and going on in Washington and things of that nature. So I will be discussing some of those topics later on down the line, but I definitely wanted to kind of get this out here as kind of a base video of, of what pension actually looks like. Because I don't think the military does a good job of that. And it really kind of didn't hit me until I started doing, I did ACAP before back in the day, but you do the SFL tab and you kind of sit down and kind of see some of those expenses that's going to be on you post service. And guess what? They're going to ask you, hey, do you want to pay it? Like your, glasses, optometry, dental, your Tricare. Do you want to pay it, personally, or do you want to come out directly out of DFAS? So obviously, if it come out of DFAS, that's going to decrease that pension check. And then also remember, pension is also taxable, right? So that's why I need to find a place where, so I need to find a place that's tax advantage, so to speak. So again, hey, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this video, and more to come. I'm not comfortable kind of talking on camera, but that's something I'm working on right now. So appreciate it and have a good one. Salute.